Welcome to the workshop. I'm Dr. Sharon Grossman. I am an EQ expert and a coach. We have a lot to cover in this hour, so hold on tight to your seats. And if you have any sort of questions, feel free to write them down. We're going to get to them at the end, but I want to get through all of this stuff so that you get the most value out of the next hour. So what we're going to be talking today about is, as you know, emotional intelligence, which, as you'll see, is really, really important for your success. And I'm going to be sharing with you a system called Bank that can help you actually leverage a lot of technology and intelligence to really become more attuned to yourself and other people. Now, one of the things we like to say is emotional intelligence is the key that unlocks ultra high performance. And we're going to see how this is so. You can use emotional intelligence to have really healthier relationships. And if you can learn how to relate to other people, this is going to help you have those connections that we are all very much wired for. And of course, it can help you improve your marriage and family life. It is also very important for anybody who wants to achieve any sort of success, especially in business, whether you are working for yourself or you are an employee. Connecting, as we know, is also essential for anybody who wants to build great relationships on a personal level. So if you want to have friends, if you want to be influential, this is where connection is ultra important. And it really begins with you understanding the value of other people. And so we're going to take a deeper dive into what all of this means in a bit. Now, it also is about your willingness to see things from the point of view of other people. And that's really how you're going to be able to find that common ground. It increases your influence in every situation. As we've just mentioned, we've listed a number of different areas where this is true. And when we learn to turn our focus from ourselves to others, really the whole world opens up to us. So it's a beautiful thing. Now, what you're going to see here is that you can use a lot of this technology to unlock the secret to emotional intelligence. I'm going to show you 3 ways that you can do that. But before we do that, let's take a look at what emotional intelligence actually is all about. So as we can see here, there are 5 different areas. And if you aren't familiar with Daniel Goleman, he's the person who wrote about emotional intelligence first and foremost. And he really broke it down into these 5 different areas: self-regulation, motivation, empathy, self-awareness, and social skills. And it is the opportunity for us to be able to recognize and understand not only ourselves, but also other people. So this is very, very powerful stuff when we're able to look at some of the things that are allowing us to have more control over our own moods, our own impulses, our thoughts, our feelings, and also to step into the shoes of other people and be able to see that what they are going through is maybe we have different ways of being in the world. It's not how we would do it, but if we can understand them, it helps us to make those connections. Now, I want to share with you a little bit about these 2 gentlemen. This is on the left, Peter Salovey, and on the right, John Mayer. And obviously a different John Mayer than if you're into pop music. But basically, they talk about the ability to identify, understand, and manage your own emotions is a big chunk of emotional intelligence. The other piece of it, as we just said, is the ability to identify, understand, and influence other people's emotions. Now think for a moment what it would be like if you were able to actually do that. Wouldn't that make life so much easier, right? Now, according to the Harvard Business Review, emotional intelligence is a groundbreaking, paradigm-shattering idea, which is one of the most influential ideas in business this century. So it really is pretty powerful. Over 75% of Forbes 500 use some kind of training to improve their employees' leaders' emotional intelligence. So that is pretty significant if you think about it. And we can absolutely improve our emotional intelligence with training. So even if you are somebody who has low emotional intelligence right now, if this is hard for you, if you're wondering, like, how can I change this? Is it even possible for me? The answer is yes. We've seen that this is not something that's static. We can absolutely learn how to become more tuned into ourselves and to other people. So I've already mentioned some of the reasons why EQ really matters, but let's dive even more deeply into these 5 areas, specifically business, communication, health, relationships, and success. So we start with EQ's impact on business. So one of the things that we know is that a lot of what happens in the workforce is we're interacting with other people clearly. According to Dr. Daniel Goldman, people with higher EQ sell more. So if you're in business for yourself, certainly that's going to be very important because you want to generate more income. And what he's showing is that top performing salespeople are 85% more productive than your average performer and 12 times more productive than the worst performing person. Okay, so there is a bit of obviously technical skill that you need to have, and there is also some cognitive ability. But according to him, 2/3 of the difference between these two kinds of people is really due to emotional intelligence. Now, for instance, L'Oreal started selecting new sales agents based on emotional competencies, and the new hires outsold salespeople that were selected for other reasons. And on average, they had $91,000 difference for a net revenue increase of $2.5 million in just one quarter. And when French pharmaceutical company Sanofi trained its sales force on emotional intelligence, annual sales performance increased by 12%. So obviously, there's a lot of data that shows that this is very, very influential. Now, it's not just in business. As we mentioned, it's very important for all relationships. And what do we do in relationships? We have communication. So apparently, we spend 80% of our time really communicating during the day in one form or another, whether it's verbal or in written. And the issue here is that a big chunk of that is really unconscious. If only 5 to 15% we do consciously, can you imagine the other part that we're not even aware of, right? So much of what we say and how we say it comes from a place that really is subconscious. And so the more we're aware, the better. Let's also talk about how EQ affects our health. So when we're thinking about our health, and I'm a burnout coach, right? So I'm very much interested in what leads people to feel very much stressed out, because burnout is a stress disorder. Now, people tend to become very emotional, very resentful, angry, frustrated when they're not managing their own emotions. But what we also know is that when you have emotional intelligence on your side, it actually means that you're going to have less stress, not just at home, but also at work. And this is really important because if burnout is a result of chronic stress over time, if we can minimize the amount of stress that we feel that we're absorbing, then we can prevent burnout from happening. And emotional intelligence is probably the most important and influential tool that you have to help you with that. All right, let's take a look at relationships. People who actively work to improve their emotional intelligence have wider, stronger networks of relationships. That is a quote by the author of the book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, which, by the way, I used to recommend this book to so many of my clients because it is very much a hands-on book that you can, they really dissect it. Whereas Daniel Goldman's book talks a lot about the theory and it goes into a lot of detail. Here you can actually have an emotional intelligence assessment, and he integrates technology with it, and you can actually check out your score twice, once at the beginning, and then do the work that's in the book and then come back and check it. So I'm not necessarily here to promote his book, but I think it's a great resource. EQ impact on success. Let's take a look at that. People with an average IQ outperform those who have the highest IQs 70% of the time due to higher EQs. In other words, EQ is actually way more important than your than your IQ, right? And so we put so much emphasis on education and being the smartest person and knowing the most information. But what allows you to be really successful is how you understand other people, because we don't operate in a vacuum. Everything has to do with our understanding of other people. And the more you can build relationships, whether it's sales or anything else, the more successful you're going to be. So let's talk about how to leverage this technology of Bank to develop EQ. Now, if you've never heard of Bank, it is a personality assessment system. I'm going to tell you all about it. And what it does is it helps you to develop empathy by studying, exploring, and understanding other perspectives. So according to Bank, and Bank really stands for the 4 personality types. B, as we'll see, stands for blueprint. A is for action. N is for nurturing. K is for knowledge. So we're looking at these 4 different types, and we want to understand not just how we are in terms of our values, but also what other people are showing up as. When we understand them, we can really not just optimize the relationship, we minimize the conflict. So Bank profiles, which is something we're going to talk about in just a minute, is where you get your own personality code. And it's not just that first code that I mentioned. You're not just a B or just an A or just an N or just a K. You are the combination of all of those 4. And so when you get to really crack your own personality code, you're going to be able to have both the headlines, in other words, the big picture, and the details, or the kind of granular information that you need in order to deep dive into why other people do what they do and why they show up the way that they do. Okay. Bank teaches you to hear the other person and then speak their language. It gives you the exact words that appeal to each of the codes. And it also shows you the best tone to use with each type that carry those words further. So why this is so important is because when we have a certain personality, we value certain things. And you're going to see this in a minute. The way that you can crack your personality code is by looking at your prioritized set of values. And if you have a certain set of values, it means that you think in a certain way and you're going to speak in a certain way. And so if you are a K and you speak to another K, they might totally get what you're saying. But if you're a K and you're speaking to an A, they might get really turned off if you're not speaking their language. And so what's so cool about this whole process is you're going to learn how to show up no matter who it is you're showing up for. Bank is also a lens through which we can understand ourselves and others, and that helps us increase our EQ, right? So as we said, a lot of what we do in the world is subconscious. And we can see that so much of our EQ is below the surface. And the things that we can access readily is our IQ. It's our thoughts. It's our concepts, the things that we've learned, but how we respond to stressors and how we negotiate with other people and what triggers us and what turns us on. So much of that we don't even have awareness around. So this is where the more awareness you have, the more successful and happier you're going to be. So we're going to take a look at how you can master the science of communication, connection, and building relationships around these 4 very pivotal areas of your life, whether it's dating, marriage, parenting, or friendships. All right. So Tony Robbins says that the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of your relationships. And we know that because we are, as I said, wired for connection. We need other people in our lives. It's not just that you need them if you're a business owner and you want to make more sales, obviously, but you need them because it's how you feel human, right? When you can connect, when you understand, when other people understand you, that brings up all the warm fuzzies, and you can connect not just emotionally, you connect on ideas, you can share passions. There's a lot there. So I want you to consider one of the relationships that you're in currently. It could be a dating relationship. It could be, if you are married, it could be a past relationship that you were in. And we're going to talk about why that maybe is working, or why it didn't work, or it's not working currently. Most friendships end due to a lack of common interests and connection. And the most important quality in dating, obviously, is personality. So we're going to take a look at this. Did you know that 50% of marriages end in divorce? You probably have heard, especially now during COVID, so many cases like this where people are divorcing each other left and right. So something's going on here when we're missing the mark somehow. The number one objective in parenting is parenting the child you have, not the one that you wish you had. So how many of you are really frustrated that your child is different from you and you don't understand them and you just want them to do what you're asking them to do, but there's a disconnect there? I know that the more I studied this stuff, the more I was able to understand my own kids, and it's helping me to show up as a different kind of parent. I can understand why, for instance, my daughter does not like physical affection. She doesn't like when we hug and kiss her. So at first that was really hard for me because I didn't really understand what it was about. But the more I started to understand her code, the more it made sense. And now it's about, how do I meet her where she's at? How can I show up for her with what it is that she needs? John Maxwell said, to be successful, you need to learn how to really communicate with others. I was just listening to Brene Brown talk about relationships and emotional intelligence. One of the things she said was really profound. She said that when people are different from us, there's two things that's really important for us to do. The first is we have to listen. We have to really listen to what they're saying, because that's how we're going to understand them. And the second thing is when they express their experience, even if it's totally different from ours, even if it's completely foreign, we have to believe them. We have to believe that their experience is the way that they're experiencing it. So that's how we're going to get really deeply connected to other people, when we are able to listen to them and communicate with them. So let's talk about the secret, right? We're talking about this idea of bank and how it's going to work to help us with other people and understanding what they're all about. So if you're looking here at this picture, this is something that was made famous in the movie The Da Vinci Code. It's really a combination of two words: cryptology, which is the science of locking up secret information, and codex, which is the written script or scroll that's locked inside a device that contains the secret message. Now, in the movie The Da Vinci Code, the secret to the Holy Grail was written on a piece of papyrus that was locked inside the device. The whole plot of the movie is, what is the secret of the Holy Grail? And there's only one way to find out. You had to crack the code. Now, the challenge in this little device was booby-trapped. Think of it like a ticking time bomb, because if you fail to crack the code correctly, what you crack instead is a tiny vial of vinegar. And the papyrus was wrapped around that vial on vinegar on the inside. The vial would then shatter and the vinegar would dissolve the papyrus, leaving you with what? Absolutely nothing. So the analogy that I like to share with clients is this. Imagine from this point forward that every single one of your customers, if you have a business, or if you're working for someone and you are in sales or in service industry, each one of them has a little invisible cryptics. And now imagine if what was locked inside this device was exactly what to say to your customer to get a yes instead of a no. How badly would you want to crack that code? Right? So how many times have you attempted to crack the code and all you cracked was that vial of vinegar as you watch your sale dissolve or your customer not feel satisfied with your service, right? And what I want to ask you right now is, how many times have you felt frustrated because that was going on for you? And what is that costing you? It might be costing you, if you're a business owner, thousands of dollars, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in business. It might mean that if you're a service provider, that you are not getting as much business as you could be. In your personal and health relationships, it's going to be costly as well. So we're going to teach you how to solve that. Now, the world leader in personality coding is Codebreaker, which is basically Bank, and they use a lot of technology to help you figure this out. And I'm really anxious to get you to that point of the presentation so you can see what it's all about. So what you're going to see here is the science, or the what we call personality science, when it comes to doing this work that's going to help you with EQ. Now, this science actually dates back 2,500 years to Hippocrates, the father of medicine. He made the theory famous when he realized that the entire human race could be divided into 4 different groups. And he called it the theory of the 4 temperaments. Well, when you fast forward to today's modern world, there have been all types of personality assessments that have been created. Some of the popular ones have been DISC, the MBTI, or color code. You know, if you're familiar with any of those assessments, if you've taken one. Now, in the beginning, the creator of the program was really fascinated with these assessments, but it soon turned out that none of them actually led to making more money, and she was an entrepreneur. They didn't help her close more sales. So the person who actually started Bank, her name is Sherry Tree. What she was looking for was a solution that wasn't based just in psychology, but in what she calls biology. And that's spelled B-U-Y-ology, the science of buying behavior. So I'll say this, she started it to create more sales for her business, and she's helped lots of people do the same. But if you are not a business owner, not to worry, because what we found out is that this is not just helpful for sales. It's actually something that is helpful in all these other areas of your life that we mentioned, your relationships and so forth. So again, B stands for blueprint, A is action, N stands for nurturing, and K stands for knowledge. And what the Bank system ultimately does is it reveals the bank code of your customer, your partner, your child, your friends, like anybody who you are in a relationship with that you want to better understand. So that is the system that we're going to be using to help us dissect everything in our relationships. But before we do that, what I want you to do is look at this link on the screen, and I can certainly put that in the chat so you guys can click on it. But you go to crackmycode.com/burnout doc. Okay. Burnout doc. So it's in the chat. What I want you to do right now to make this more of a workshop, really interactive, to get your code, is I want you to go to that link. And all it's going to take is about 90 seconds for you to crack your code. And the way that this works is you're going to see, just like you're seeing here on the screen, these 4 different value cards. And all you have to do is arrange them in the right order in order to see what your bank code is. So take a moment right now to do that. Go to crackmycode.com/burnout dog. Then sort out these value cards, and I want you to put in the chat what your code is, and we're going to take it from there. So go ahead and do that. I'm going to give you a few minutes, and then you're going to see what your primary and secondary codes are. Those are the things that are going to be the most important things for you, but also are going to be very indicative about who you are as a person. And then we're going to look at what the 3rd and 4th codes also mean. And you're going to see that this bank code is like a PIN. When you put your debit card in the local ATM machine, the machine's going to ask you for your 4-digit PIN code. Well, you've got to enter that PIN code in the exact sequence if you want money to come out. And people are exactly the same, because you need to communicate with them in the exact sequence of their bank code if you want to relate to them. So let's have you do that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a minute. And I want to look in the chat. I want everybody to go ahead and crack their codes. Is anybody stuck? Anybody have questions about the link? Are they having any issues? If not, I'd love to see all of those 4-digit codes in the chat. And what we're going to do as soon as you have those is we're going to then look at what it all means. In addition to that, you're also going to then get a report sent off to your email, which you can look at after the meeting. And that's going to go into far more detail about your code, as well as helping you understand better other people's codes. So this is something that we normally charge $99 for, but we're including that for free here in today's workshop. So make sure that you do take a look at that once that gets emailed off to you. The people that come to trainings on emotional intelligence, for the most part, are people who are high in nurturing, which makes sense because we talk about EQ as something that helps you to foster relationships and to be able to understand other people and build empathy, right? So who are the people that tend to sign up for these things? These are people who are already valuing that. Sometimes the reason that we come to this is because N isn't our strong suit, right? It's something that we struggle with, and maybe we're here to learn how to do it or to not get stressed out by it. So that could be something, but super fascinating. And I'm just gonna get back to the presentations because we still have a lot to cover. But I hope that now that you have your code, this is all going to come into context and going to make a lot of sense. When you take all of the different combinations for these codes, yes, each of them is a 4-digit code, but when you take them all together, you can come up with a total of 24 different bank codes. And what that means is that the average person really only has a 1 in 24 chance of getting the right communication or the right presentation to the person that they are trying to connect with. So when you can better understand what is going on with the other person, it's going to really help you to get the right information across. So let's go ahead and actually look at what each of these are about. So Santos, I need you to pay extra attention now because this is you, B, okay? And Bs are the blueprint personality type. So I want you to imagine a person that lives inside the box, very conservative, and we use the color blue. So think of an architect who values precision. They create actual blueprints for other people to follow. This person may be a little bit colder to approach. And now if you look here, I can show you, or you can look at the different combinations here. You can see that there's certain values for a blueprint. These are all of the main values that we're going to see. And what this means is that they make buying decisions in very different ways than somebody who is an A or a K or an N. And so when we're selling to them, for instance, we are going to focus on what helps them feel safe and minimize risk and make sure that they are feeling safe in that decision. Or if we are dating somebody who's a B, we know they're going to be very organized. They're going to have a lot of rules about how things are done. They're going to be seeking more predictability. So that is what a blueprint is. And if there's certain professions that are more attracted, or I should say, Bs tend to be certain professions. So that could be like your police officers. It could be lawyers, right? Because lawyers are there to follow the law. So you'll see that as you're starting to interact with different people, it's starting to come together for you. Okay. And now we're going to look at A's. These are the values that A's have. And as we said, A stands for action. This is your mover, shaker, and millionaire maker. They're totally outside the box. Look at the color red. These people are on fire. So we're talking here to Lily specifically. And we have people who have A's in their secondary code. That's Ken, Aaron, and Fran. Oh, and Santos as well. So pay attention, all of you, because this is, I'm speaking to you, right? These are, we said, people who maybe act, especially if it's their first code, like they drank Red Bull for breakfast. They want VIP red carpet service. What works for a blueprint in your sales presentation will completely turn off the action personality type and vice versa. And then what gets an action really excited and engaged will completely turn off the blueprint. This type of polarity happens every single time you deliver your presentation. The problem is you don't even know which code that you're speaking to. Plus, you're delivering a canned one-size-fits-all presentation, which just doesn't work, okay? So next we have N, which is the nurturing type. These are the values that nurturers have. They are your sunshine, sunflower, smiley face, heart of gold, sweet as honey type of person. We've got a lot of you here. The nurturing personality type is the one that would recycle the box. So the nurturing personality requires quite a different approach. As a matter of fact, what engages a blueprint type or an action type is totally different from what engages a nurturing type. Nurturers make their buying decisions with their intuition, and that's why they require a different approach. Now, you're seeing this almost like a compass, north, south, east, and now let's talk about west, that fourth personality type, which is the K, and these are the K values. K stands for knowledge, and for this personality type, we use the color green. Imagine someone who loves data and information so much that they could eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was just having a coaching call today with one of my VIP clients this morning, and she's a K, and she was mentioning how she feels like her mission in life is to learn as much as possible. So Ks get really excited about knowledge. The Microsoft Excel spreadsheet logo is green. And in the movie The Matrix, the computer code is green. So green can also represent green with envy. And for this personality type, we say that they engineer the box. The knowledge personality type is very challenging to sell to typically. So here's a quick question. Can you close a knowledge type? And when I say close in sales, guys, even if you're not in a business, you know, we sell all the time. We sell our what we want to do this weekend to our partner, and we're trying to convince our kids to do what we want. So it's all sales, right? So if you have a child or a partner who's a knowledge type, can you close them? Can you make a sale to them? The answer is no. So who closes the Ks? Only themselves. So if you've ever had a client get stuck in analysis paralysis, they are likely a knowledge personality type because they cannot make a final decision unless certain criteria are met. This situation is very challenging for the typical sales professional. They just don't know who they're talking to. We built this exact system to educate people on these 4 different types so that you can be more successful. Now, the most common mistake that we see is that people, as we said, are just coming at everybody from their dominant personality type. They're trying to connect to potential clients or even a potential romantic partner to their kids from their point of view. And what we know is that actually doesn't work. We've already mentioned why. Now, the cool thing is you've all just cracked your codes and you saw how quickly you can do that. And imagine if you had an opportunity where you could easily crack other people's codes and be able to figure out what is going on for them. Would that be really cool or not? I mean, I know for me, I'm a knowledge personality, so I'm always excited about things that give me some leverage, some ways of kind of hacking the system and understanding other people. What I want to share with you is how this comes into play with relationships. And I'm going to talk to you about why opposites attract. If you're a blueprint, if you're in a relationship with an A personality, you're going to be like, oh my God, you're so amazing. You're so exciting. You're an entrepreneur. You show up so unexpectedly, you make things happen. And the A personality type might be attracted to a blueprint because they're going to be like, you're so reliable. You have a job, you pay your bills. So for somebody who likes to just be off the cuff, they might be attracted to the very opposite, which is somebody who is much more organized and prepared. If you're a nurturing type and you're in a relationship with a K, you're going to be like, oh my God, you're so smart. You know everything. You can solve all the problems. You listen to me. I really love that. And the knowledge personality type is going to be like, you are so sweet. You're always paying attention to me. You're taking care of me. You have so many friends. And so you can see how these different personality types might actually come together, even though they're complete opposites. But oftentimes what we also see is that they attack each other. So a blueprint might think, oh my God, you are so annoying. You don't have a job. You don't have a plan. You're always late. You're driving me absolutely crazy. And the A personality type might say, you're boring. All you do is the same thing over and over again. You never take any risks. You have so many rules. Like, who wants to live like that? And the nurturing type might say to the knowledge type, you're so cold. You don't say you love me. You don't even touch me. You don't spend time with me. Whereas the knowledge type is going to say to the nurturer, you're so needy. You're so touchy. You talk too much. You're too emotional, right? Is anybody having like an aha moment right now? Right? It's like when you can start to see how this all comes into play. I think this is very, very exciting. And we have some really cool case studies for people who studied bank. And some of them talked about how it saved their marriage, it made them a better parent. It helped them in dating to find their spouse. And there was even a teenager who, because of bank, was suicidal, really wanted to take their own life, and found purpose and in learning a lot of this stuff. So this is very, very impactful. Now, I love this little quote from Albert Einstein, who said, any fool can complicate things. It takes a genius to simplify them. Now, as we said, bank is personality science. It's there to help you understand other people and also drive a profit if you have a business for yourself. And these are the 4 types that make up the bank profile, of course. We've already said that you have a 1 in 4 chance of delivering the right script if you are coming from your own code. So if you're an A and you have an A kind of a script, you're going to leave 3/4 of the people behind. So what I want to share with you now is that when you're dealing with either prospects in a business or even with people in your life, people that you work with, maybe you have a manager that you don't get along with. I recently talked to somebody who is working in healthcare, and everybody there is really pulling their hair out when it comes to their manager, because the manager is very low in nurturing. And so she started learning bank, and she said, you know what, before I send any sort of email to this manager, what I'm going to do is I am going to make sure that I'm speaking her language, her bank code. And I'm going to show you, we also have, maybe I'm jumping the gun again, but we have artificial intelligence that you can actually put your emails or any sort of communication through the AI, and it tells you what code you're speaking in. So she was tailoring her communication to really be in the code of the manager. And all of a sudden, what happened, because she didn't actually believe this worked, right? She was like, oh, I'm just going to do this for fun, but I really don't have any buy-in. What turned out was that this manager started to call her out and was telling everybody how wonderful she is, and all of a sudden was complimenting her. And it was not because anything had changed in her, but she was just showing up in the other person's code. So when you really speak other people's codes, it's very profound. So what we have when you are when you're trying to crack other people's codes is, as you just saw, you have a link that you can go to, and you can really sort your cards or your values and figure out what the code is. And other people can use that link as well to be able to crack their own code. We also have these bank cards that you can take with you if you're going to like a networking event, or you're trying to figure out like what the codes are for people in your family. They have these cards with pictures for younger kids who don't understand these concepts of values, and they're able to crack their code. So you can understand what makes your child tick. And that way you can really decode your entire family and figure out what's going on there. So I'm going to show you a way that you can actually get your own code. And it'll have your access code at the end, just like mine has burnout doc at the end. And the way that you get that is you subscribe to Codebreaker AI. And what this includes is this, what we call Bank Pass, which is the lead generation technology that can send people to crack their codes online using your own personal link. And it's kind of like sorting the bank cards in person, only now it's online, just like you did to crack your own codes. Okay, so this is good if you have a business and you're looking for lead generation, but it's also really wonderful, as I mentioned, for people in your family and people that you work with to better understand them. As I mentioned, there's also artificial intelligence. This is where you get to really put all of your communications through the system and feel really confident with your ability to deliver the right presentation, how to engage, whether it's a sales call or somebody that you're having a very difficult relationship and you're trying to crack through to them. So you can get the Codebreaker AI and the Bank Pass technologies for one combined low monthly price of $59. But I want to show you what else we have. So there is something called the Bank Vault. And for people who are really into learning, I'm going to call out specifically Madeline and Lasha and Pavitar. This is where you might really love this. Okay, so this is where you get to have almost like a Netflix. It's an entire study curriculum. You have access to a lot of trainings to learn how to speak different people's codes. And you're going to want to access all of these courses that can help you to get really supercharged, whether you're an entrepreneur, a sales professional, or just a mom or a dad, or somebody who is in a relationship and wanting to be more impactful. There are over 50 hours of courses, and you get unlimited access to a lot of that, as well as tracking and accountability. So this is something that I actually super love and enjoy. And what we have, which is really, really cool, is we have something called the Kickstarter Pro. This is where for $99.95, you get to have access not only to everything I just mentioned, but it also comes with 2 additional masterclasses on sales and relationships. Okay, so what we're going to do is show you how you can get started with all of this stuff. We've got 3 different product baskets, if you will, here, and you can see for the different price levels what you get included. So what I like to suggest is that you look at the Explorer, particularly because not only do you get that Bank Pass that we said, which is that code that allows you to crack other people's personality codes and access to the AI, but you also get that Bank Vault, which is super valuable. And there's another thing that's super cool, which I haven't mentioned, which is that Google Chrome extension. So you can actually plug that into your computer. And when you go to LinkedIn, you can, even if you're not connected to someone, you can crack their code based on their profile on LinkedIn. So if you are communicating with people online, this is priceless. And what's so cool is I'm going to give you a coupon code where you can actually sign up and get a credit of $98, giving you that Explorer for a $1 trial. Okay, so this is actually super, super cool. So what I'm going to do is suggest that I'm going to scroll down here. Let's see. Oh, and I do want to mention you do get with that Explorer package, you get a bonus, which is a digital subscription box, which is delivered every month. And you get the Bank Secrets, which is another training inside. And if you subscribe today, we also have a free private consultation that you can have either with me or with some other people that are even more knowledgeable about Bank than I am. So I'm going to give you this code, which is bit.ly/Bank Kickstarter. And when you go to this, if you are interested in getting that Explorer package, what you do is you click on the link and then you click on Access Now. You're going to put that Kickstarter in your cart. And before you check out, you just scroll down and you click upgrade to Explorer and enter the coupon code BANK. And you're going to see immediately that it goes down to $1. All right. So that's going to allow you to have access to all the things that we just mentioned, the AI, the bank code, to be able to crack other people's codes, the Chrome extension, all of the wonderful trainings in the vault. And believe me, if you only do this for a month, it is so worth that $1 because you will learn a ton, and it's going to just completely transform how you think about other people that you come into contact with. So go ahead and check that out because it's really the most amazing deal that I've seen. And I hope that this was helpful to you guys. And I would love to take any questions that you guys have about anything that I've shared or about getting started with Bank. And by the way, if you're wondering, the code again for that discount is BANK. So if you wanted to get that, you can. And Lily, you do not need to get certified. Absolutely not. All you need to do to use this assessment is just get that code that I was showing you before in the presentation, which is your access code. Okay. So once you have the access code, which you can get as soon as you sign up for that $1 trial, you're going to have everything you need to start cracking other people's codes. You can also install that Chrome extension to be able to crack people's codes on LinkedIn. I'm happy for those of you who sign up also to send you a video that can help you get onboarded. There's also a Facebook group if you want to be able to see other trainings and get into the community with other people who are already doing this work and kind of be able to pick people's brains. I am always available also for follow-up. So I am happy to connect with you afterwards as well. So anybody who signs up, I will get your email and I will follow up with you and be able to answer any questions. We can set up a one-to-one, and you'll also get all those additional trainings, those 2 master classes that I mentioned. Lily says, I've done other EQ certifications, but this is far more superior. And I will say this uses a lot of technology, so it's actually super cool. So I do want to respect everybody's time. I see we have a couple minutes left. If anybody's got questions, feel free to follow up with me. I'm going to give a few more seconds just if anybody's got anything else that's super pressing. But otherwise, what I love about this offer is that it is so risk-free, right? I mean, to get all of this access for $1 is amazing. And so I want everybody to know about this. And that's why I'm here sharing this with you, because I think EQ is absolutely essential. And to be able to use this technology to help them and access higher intelligence with other people. It's been my absolute pleasure and joy sharing this information with all of you. And I'm so, so grateful that you've been able to come onto this call with me. And I hope this was enlightening at the very least. I know for me, learning this stuff was like completely mind-blowing, and I am totally excited to share it with you all. And I hope that you do crack people's codes, whether it's for your families, your friends, people that you struggle with in relationships with, and any prospective clients before you get on calls with them, or any emails that you're about to send out, put that through the AI and make sure that you are tapping into all 4 codes across the board. Again, if you have any questions, happy to follow up with you guys, but it's been a pleasure having you here, and all the best.